Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us again today on week 3 of lockdown and the JPro webinar series. My name's Quentin, and I look forward to presenting today on video conferencing plug-and-play solutions from Harman. Today I have Paul Edland joining me. He will be presenting on the ACENDO Vibe and assisting with presenting with the ACENDO Core and our CT Transport series of products. So I'll just introduce Paul, and he can say g'day to everybody. Your mic's muted there, buddy.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Thanks, Clinton. Hope everybody's safe and warm this morning, and you've got a nice cup of coffee or a cup of tea and some toast to settle down with us for the next hour. And hopefully you'll find this it's nice and interesting and informative. So thanks very much. So over to you, Quentin.
Thanks, buddy.
Yep.
Right. Thank you again, everybody. So as I said, today's webinar, we're focusing on video conferencing and specifically web conferencing and the role it has in enterprise, from small business, medium to enterprise businesses. It's everywhere now, and I wanted to show you all some solutions that that Harman has for the smallest to the largest meeting rooms. So I have a bit of a PowerPoint presentation along with some practical demonstration today. Paul's going to help me with a bit of practical demonstration and some PowerPoint. So hopefully we don't bore you too much with just PowerPoint alone. So just a bit of an overview as to the proceedings today. So done our introduction. ACENDO Vibe we're going to talk about first, which is our conferencing, web conferencing soundbar. And then have a look at ACENDO Core, our collaboration web conferencing platform. And then finally, the CT series of connectivity and transport kits. So I'm going to have a little bit of a demonstration with these three these three solutions. So hopefully keep it a little bit fresh and not bore everybody too much. So thanks again so much for joining us, and we will kick off. If you do have any questions throughout, there is the Q&A at the top right of your screen there, so you can ask questions there, and we will answer those questions at the end of the session. So please fire us any questions that you have. So start off with a little bit of PowerPoint here. So what are we trying to address when we think of web conferencing in today's organisations and the challenges that they face? There is a significant amount of time wasted with technology today, and technology was supposed to make our lives easier, but it seems that even ourselves, JPro and other organisations that I've worked with, we struggle with sometimes with the technology in the room and the reliability of it and the simplicity of it as well, and having the confidence that it's going to work every time. Everything from just booking a meeting room nowadays, if you're a large organisation, and finding a free meeting space can be challenging in some organisations. Turning up to the meeting room and having, brought your laptop with you, where do I plug my laptop into? Or, is there a room PC? And, do I have to have an account on the domain to, content, and whether I have content on a thumb drive with me, whether it's on the cloud, whether it's on my laptop. Finding and inviting people internal to my organisation, but not just that, externally to my organisation, being able to ensure that those people join my meeting and they can hear, see my content as well. So, we waste a lot of time just setting up for meetings, and, it's between 5 and 10 minutes per meeting, just setting up and then transitioning to the next meeting. If our meeting start is late, then the next group that come into that meeting room, they're impacted as well. So, that's a lot of time and a lot of money that's wasted in just setting up for meetings. And Paul, you put it quite well the other day, just the process that somebody actually has to go through just to set up a meeting for an internal meeting. Would you mind just taking me through that?
Yeah, well, I guess I was sort of speaking from experience and what we go through even at work to schedule a meeting and to organise everybody, and then to go and book a room and then get into the room. And I was sort of reflecting on it. It kind of looks something like this, right? Where to schedule a meeting, you'll have some conversations through emails and say, can you do tomorrow? Can you do the next day? You'll organise a time between a group of parties, and then you'll send an invitation out. People will accept. Maybe it'll bounce back, and you have to change the time again. You finally settle on a time to hold the meeting, and this may involve people in the office plus some external off-site clients as well. Once you have settled on the meeting on the day, you rush out, you grab your laptop, you grab your power supply, you grab if you like me, you've got a MacBook, you grab your dongle for the MacBook to get your HDMI connectivity. You go into the room and you get to the door of the room and somebody's already there, right? So the meeting that's already taking place is still winding up, still finishing. So you're already a little bit delayed. You ask them politely to move, and they move on. You go into the room, and then you start your process of setting up, right? And that looks like getting to the table, plugging your power, getting your HDMI connection going, finding your meeting credentials, initiating a call, and then doing this this play where you test your microphone level and you test your speaker level. Can you hear me? Can you see me? All that sort of stuff. So I mean, we've all experienced that. We come across it all the time. I guess in the AMX solution, especially on the ACENDO family, what that looks like is a slightly different proposal, right? Where in that initial stage where you are booking the room, you're actually inviting the room as part of the scheduling as well. So it's set up as a room resource or as a participant. And as you go back and forth on your timing and deciding on a day and a time, you're also including the room in that as well. And so you can see the availability of the room, and you can book it. And as you confirm with everybody, it's also confirming with the room. And so what that looks like now is that you head into the room, right? And you immediately you see on the side of the room, there's a room booking panel that shows your meeting scheduled to go. And inside the room, the participants have already been informed that there's a new meeting ready to start in 5 or 10 minutes, and so they're winding up, they're ready to go. You get into the room, and your meeting is already presented there on the screen. It's a one click to initiate it, to get it up and ready, and you're into it. You haven't had to set up your laptop, you haven't had to adjust audio levels because that's already in place in the room. So you've just saved yourself a whole lot of time and effort and hassle, and having to take a whole lot of equipment in and essentially set up every time you go into that room. So all of this, like you mentioned, Quentin, is saving time, it's saving money, it's also saving a lot of technical challenges as well, right? It's simplifying this whole process.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. And inevitably somebody forgets to unmute their microphone when they join the conference.
Yeah, that's right.
Sorry, bit of a jab there. And inevitably my screen keeps popping up saying bad network quality. So my apologies if some of these slides jump around a little bit, folks. Please bear with me. So thanks so much, Paul. That's yeah, that sums up the challenge that you face when you're just creating a meeting, let alone actually starting the meeting and getting some information across. You know, if you've had a bad experience just creating that meeting, setting up that meeting, then what's your mindset going to be like going into that and actually trying to have a productive meeting when you're already flustered? So thanks, Paul. So what are the challenges? What does our workforce actually require? We're working in a new world now. We're all working from home. We're using Teams. You may be using Zoom. You might be using Skype for Business Store. It might be WebEx. It might be Google Hangouts. So we're working very differently, and particularly in this during COVID-19, and web conferencing is massive now. It's how we all stay engaged with each other. But in an open office environment, the challenges that people face today is our meeting spaces are now huddle desks in the middle of an open office. They might be a small kiosk with a couch and a screen and maybe a privacy screen around it, or a small meeting room at the most that sort of seats 5-6 people sort of maximum. Our workforce, it needs to be as easy as possible to find one of these spaces and reserve it. So using the calendaring system, whether it be Exchange on site or O365 to look for a meeting room resource that they can book and be assured that when they arrive at that it has been booked for them, it's displayed prominently for them, and that they can start their meeting immediately. You know, a fast meeting start, the technology that is there needs to be robust, it needs to be reliable, it needs to be simple for them to be able to use as well. You know, the beauty of today is that we have real ease of access to our documentation through things like SharePoint and Dropbox and OneDrive, and you know, we've always got access to our documentation. But how do we make it as simple as possible for our workforce to access that content? So and then, you know, conferencing. I've already touched on web conferencing. Today we're using so many different web conferencing applications. You know, one person might come in and they might be using WebEx. The next person that comes in, if they're external party, they might come in and they might be using Zoom. So how do we allow for those disparate systems or the multitude of web conferencing platforms? Meet this guy here. Inquisitive look on his face. He's your IT manager, your CTO. He's the guy that's, you know, thinking about the future of what my meeting rooms, my spaces look like in my organization. You know, today space is a premium. You know, gone are the days of massive boardrooms and multitude of large meeting rooms. These spaces now need to be more cost effective than ever, particularly with the dollar per meter for meeting room spaces now. We're working in hot desk environments and huddle spaces. You know, the solutions that they're looking at today are simple for them to buy, and where we are challenged by other vendors and the solutions, those, you know, turnkey off-the-shelf solutions that are really accessible to these types of people now. They need to be simple to install and manage as well, and you know, there needs to be plug and play, and that's why we've, you know, addressed some of those challenges with some plug and play solutions. You know, these solutions that we're going to talk about today, they can be integrated with full AMX control, or they can be used as a simple standalone solution that can be installed by an IT manager or an IT specialist or an AV specialist. So, you know, you've got that cross between the two different organizations or business units. And finally, simple to use. You know, it needs to be intuitive for the users, and they need to have a cohesive experience between all of their spaces. You know, the worst thing I find is going from within the same organization is from one meeting room in one office, you know, the system set up with, you know, some networked AV to another system that's using, you know, just using HDMI cables, or they're using completely different vendors between the meeting rooms, and there's no cohesiveness or cohesion between the systems that they have in those rooms. So Harman AMX have a complete huddle space solution, which incorporates a few different products or solutions in themselves, which Paul touched on. And the experience for a user that wants to book a space, you know, the ACENDO book panels are a really nice looking interface. They're really easy to view and understand, showing meeting room availability. Now, these connect natively to Google Calendars, O365, and Exchange on premises over on the left-hand side here. That is a complete standalone solution. You don't have to dip feet any deeper into the Harman portfolio if you just want to be able to display room booking. If you want to then expand on that, we have the ACENDO Vibe, which is our web conferencing soundbar with a camera, microphone array in it. And Paul's going to do a bit of a product demonstration on the ACENDO Vibe for us shortly. And then the ACENDO Core, which is our web conferencing platform. So this is an agnostic platform based on the Windows 10 IoT or Internet of Things operating system. So we can assure a curated experience that isn't going to be interrupted by Windows updates ever. It's, you know, it's been themed with a UI, or scripted with a UI, which means that every time our employees or our guests use the platform, the system, that they can expect the same results. So we'll delve into the ACENDO family, and first up we're going to have a look at the ACENDO Vibe. So the challenge for our huddle spaces in audio and video today is, we need to ensure that we have high quality audio and video if we want to ensure the buy-in and people's and make sure people are engaged. The audio and the video needs to be of the best quality possible. So we've addressed that with the ACENDO Vibe. So, poor audio will ruin your meeting experience. I've had so many meetings with different platforms and different technologies in the room where you can barely hear the person that's talking, and you leave the meeting saying to yourself, that half an hour was almost a waste of my time. So some of the solutions previously available with, some of them even suffered from lack of echo cancellation. And the beauty of the Vibe solution is that we've got a soundbar with echo cancellation in there. Field of view on cameras, typically in these small huddle spaces with a web camera in there off the shelf, you've got a camera that's a 90-degree field of view on there. So if I'm in a small meeting room which has 5 to 6 people around the table, I could be cutting off the sides of the table, not even seeing those people that are sitting there. So how do we address that? So the ACENDO Vibe. So you can see an illustration of it here. There's a black and a silver one. Once upon a time there was a blue one. I really liked the blue one, but they never manufactured it. So the ACENDO Vibe was developed with Harman and JBL Consumer, which Paul corrected me on, and AMX. It's sold under the AMX banner because it fits in with the AMX ecosystem of integration products, or with the collaboration products as well. So audio designed by JBL, far afield microphones, which Paul will talk about, integrated DSP. So audio sources available to you from various sources, HDMI, Bluetooth, analog and optical. The camera, which I've already touched on, 110 degree field of view camera on there. It's rotatable by hand and can be rotated for privacy as well. CEC control for input detection. So I can pass my HDMI from my laptop through the soundbar. When it detects that input, the CEC command sent from the HDMI output to a display to turn the display on and off. So it's designed to look modern and have a pleasant aesthetic. They're very robust. They feel very solid. The materials that have been used for them are top grade. They feel real nice on the hand. Sounds weird. And the installation is very straightforward of these as well. And then finally, a really nice remote solution for them, which Paul will talk about. And with that, I'm going to switch back over to Paul, and Paul's just going to give us a bit of a guided tour of the ACENDO Vibe and a bit of a practical demonstration with it as well. So over to you, Paul.
All right. Thanks, Quentin, and welcome back to my office away from the office. So as Quentin's already mentioned, here we have the ACENDO Vibe. This is the grey version, and this has the camera on top for video conferencing. Out of the box, there's a couple of things I want to talk about. One is the design, and secondly the remote, and then the bracketing system. So out of the box, the design, the industrial design of the soundbar, as designed by JBL Consumer. What you first notice is that it's really nice materials. It feels like it should be in a high-end, residential home or such. It feels nice. It doesn't feel cheap whatsoever. It's very high quality. You've got this really nice material on top. The top feels like it's like a marble or a ceramic type feel as well. And as you pan around to it, you'll notice you've got controls onto the side there, and these are controls you can access directly from the side of the soundbar. You would have source selection, so you could scroll between your Bluetooth, your audio aux in, either on analog or optical or HDMI sources coming through. You can also mute. You can turn the volume up and down. You can mute the microphone. and you can mute the soundbar itself. So that's really easily and accessible from the side, and you know, it's color coordinated. It's really nice. You know when it's muted, you know when it's unmuted. Turn volume up and down. You can mute the microphone from the side if you want to. Underneath it, you've got some rubber grommets. So if you were to mount it onto a credenza or a table or a credenza, it's not going to move around. It's not going to vibrate off. It's got a nice solid feel to it, and it's isolated from the table. Underneath, you'll notice as well, it's got some tuning ports in there. So this is really nicely tuned by JBL for conferencing. It's voiced for conferencing, so you can hear the far end audio coming through nice and clearly. And you can play back, music and presentations through it as well. What you don't see in here is the microphone array. So there is a microphone array at the front of the soundbar. And why they use a microphone array is that, I mean, we've probably all been in conferences where we've gone through the normal video conferencing system. That hasn't worked. We've had issues, and we've ended up putting a phone onto the table and using that as our audio conferencing system. The problem with that is that any microphone by itself will only pick up what's close to it. And as you get further and further away from the microphone, you end up picking more and more of the room up and less of the direct sound. So by using a microphone array, you're able to essentially listen further into the room. And so these sound bars, recommended distance, you can get up to 4, 5, 6 meters into the room, which easily covers off most huddle rooms or small meeting rooms. And it allows you to hear clearly what's going on in the room and less of the room environment itself. So design, it's fantastic. It looks really stiff. You can, like I say, you can mount it either to the top of the credenza and just have it there, or you can mount it to the wall as well and underneath the TV display. So if this was the wall and my TV was hanging out from the wall, you could mount it underneath that as well. I'm going to show you the bracket in just a second, but before we get to that, I want to just flick over to the remote. So this is the remote that comes with the soundbar. And again, it's got a really nice solid feel to it. It's heavy, it's weighty. It's got a metal outer ring, and this metal outer ring controls the volume up and down of the soundbar. Of course, you can mute the soundbar from it as well. You can mute your microphone, so you can have some privacy conversations while you're in the middle of a meeting. You can unmute it, and you can also hang up a call as well. What's nice also is that at the back of the remote, you've got another push button there that selects between the different sources on your soundbar. So you can toggle between your Bluetooth audio, HDMI, analog and optical, and etc. So what I'd like to do now is a quick demo of a typical application where you might go into a meeting room and you want to make a voice conference or audio conference. And what that might look like is that you could just use any standard phone. So I've already just paired my phone to the soundbar using Bluetooth. It was really simple and easy. I just used the remote there and I hit the Bluetooth button there. It started looking for a pairing device. And then I paired it to my phone, and then now it's accessible to my phone as both a microphone and a playback speaker.
So, hey, Paul, it's just important to point out with that Bluetooth pairing that, when Paul leaves the meeting room, if he's paired his device with it, that he has to forget that device and repair with it. That is to prevent you from accidentally streaming to or pairing to the sound bar if you're, in an adjacent meeting room at any point in time.
Yeah, that's an important point, right? So as you leave the meeting room, it actually does disconnect your phone after a period of time, so that if you do make any further calls, it's not coming through the soundbar itself. So actually, let's go through that and let's take you through that demo. I'm just going to go in and I'm going to forget the device, and I'm going to go to my Bluetooth here. I'm going to select Bluetooth, and it comes up as a Bluetooth device on my phone.
And you can
Vibe.
rename that device through the configuration software as well, Paul. So you could rename it for the individual meeting room names.
Yeah, thank you, Quentin. Especially if you have a number of different meeting rooms, right? Rather just ACENDO Vibe, it'll be meeting room 1, meeting room 2, meeting room 3. So you have a unique ID for your Bluetooth pairing. Great, so we are all paired. It did a little beep there to tell me I am paired. And then what I'd like to do is maybe just make a quick phone call through to Joni, who is going to take this call, and so it's using the ACENDO Vibe here.
Morning, Paul.
Good morning. Hi, Joni. How's it all going for you this morning?
Oh, great.
Great.
In lockdown.
Great. Thanks for joining us. And if you don't know Joni, Joni is our manager in the background who pretty much keeps the whole engine running. She helps us with our PowerPoint presentations. She's moderating this presentation for us. So thanks for joining us, Joni. Hey, so what I'd like to do real quickly is just demonstrate. Oh, and you might have hung up there. Let's try again.
Sorry.
Okay, so second time round. But so what I'd like to show real quickly is that I can mute you from the side of things. I've just muted the speaker there, unmuted, and we're back again, Joni. And I've got my privacy mic here, so I'm going to mute me, and you won't be able to hear me for a little while. And then I'm going to unmute again. And then lastly, if I was to finish off the call, I've got the hang up here right on the controller as well. So I'm just, thanks for joining us, Joni. I'm going to hang up now, and we'll catch you a little bit later on.
Bye, Joni.
Thanks, Paul.
Okay, thanks. Bye. And there we go. So really simple and easy. You can easily rock into a meeting and start using the hardware that's already in the room. Really quick and easy to pair it to your phone, and away you go. So that's the soundbar in operation. What I just wanted to finish off with was the mounting. So I'm going to unplug this real quickly. So like I said, you can easily mount this to the side of the wall and have your display above it. And they make this particularly easy for you. So I'm just trying to get this real close here. We have
just a little bit to your right, mate.
Just a little bit to the right. Here we go.
Yep.
So we have a little quick release button here, and that button just releases this bracket at the back here, and away it comes, right? On the bracket itself, I'm trying to get this as close as I can so you may be able to read, but there is a ruler essentially on the bracket that's scribed into the bracket itself. And what that allows you to do is to really quickly and easily find the right position for the soundbar underneath the display. So there's some ruler markings here, and there's also a triangle marker here and a triangle marker there. And the idea being is that you would come to your display, you would find the center of the display here, you would mount or you would position the triangle right to the middle of the display. And if you can imagine that, that's where the bottom of the TV is right there. And then I'd come down to this opening here, there's another triangle there, and I'd scribe that out. And then this little square here, I would cut that out, and that's where I can drag my cables through. Then it's just a matter of rotating this bracket around. That becomes your cable entry. You pull the cables through, and your soundbar is ready to mount back onto this bracket. I'll just move it up a little bit, mount back onto this bracket. So that's really easy. You would bring your soundbar up to the bracket again, and literally that just clicks back into place. So that's now hanging off the wall. And then you would make your final connections, the cables going into the input jacks there, and then you would simply rotate it back and it locks into place. There's a little magnetic click there, and you can see from the side, it tilts forward and then back in, and it locks into place. So really, really quick and easy. On the bottom there, just to finish that off, there are a couple of screws to put in there that it just locks it all into place, and so it doesn't tilt forward again accidentally. So that's the mounting side of things there. On the inputs on the back, we have HDMI in, HDMI out, our USB for our audio and our camera, some power, and some audio in and out, both analog and optical. And then in the middle here, we've got RS-232 control, some motion control as well. and maybe Quentin will highlight a little bit later on how you can use that motion control or that audio detect to turn on displays as well.
Yep.
So that's it from the demo side of things, Quentin.
Thank you so much, buddy. Appreciate that. Well done.
Thank you.
So I'll just flick back over here. So thanks again, Paul. Just to highlight the connectivity of the ACENDO Vibe, we've just got here the 5100. So there's two models. There's the 2100 and the 5100. The 5100 has the camera on it. So to access the camera, the microphones, the soundbar, you can connect a USB cable to it. Comes provided with a USB cable for it, and HDMI. So it does take HDMI audio through. So the HDMI input, like I said, is what triggers the CEC control. So I plug my laptop in, and that triggers the ACENDO Vibe to send the CEC on command across the HDMI to the display. So if you want a really simple solution that gives you a little bit of control in a huddle space, then your soundbar, your ACENDO Vibe does it all. So Bluetooth connectivity, like Paul said, for audio conferencing there as well is really useful. I don't know how many times I've sat in a meeting room table and said, hey, let's give such and such a call. Being able to use a proper conferencing soundbar in that sort of situation would be really nice. And then finally, using the ACENDO Vibe with more of the ACENDO product range, and here's an illustration of the ACENDO Core being used with the Vibe as well. This leads interestingly into our transport kits later on. I've got a USB peripheral device which is being consumed by a room PC or our ACENDO Core, and then how do I come in as a user with my own BYOD device and use those USB peripherals in the room without having to unplug them from the room PC and potentially leaving the room in a broken state. So, and then just finally hit the two models in the ACENDO Vibe range, the 5100 series and the 2100 series, and this just illustrates the differences between the two models there. So you'll see on the 2100 series you don't have the camera, the HDMI input and output, or the CEC display control on there. They both do have the audio detection. The 2100 doesn't have that because it wouldn't need it. The 5100 series has the audio detection in there as well. So you can actually set it to detect occupancy based on pickup on the microphone. So there's some settings based on the activity or low, medium, high setting on that there. So if you've got it in a meeting room which is quiet when there's nobody in there, you can use that as a function to turn displays off and on. So thanks again, Paul, and we'll carry on from the ACENDO Vibe, and then we'll start talking about the ACENDO Core, which is our web conferencing platform. So essentially, the ACENDO Core is a Windows 10 IoT device. If you're not familiar with the IoT platform, it is essentially Windows 10, but it has been developed so that developers of IoT products can use the Windows 10 platform and lock it down so that they can provide a curated experience. By that, I mean you don't have to worry about Windows updates halfway through your meeting, shutting your meeting room PC down or shutting your laptop down. And there's other measures, they've taken out all of the bloat that comes with the operating system so that it is a specific appliance operating system. So the ACENDO Core, what's showing on the screen at the moment is essentially what you're greeted with as a user in a room. So Paul mentioned that you walk into the room, the ACENDO Core is on the screen. This is what you're greeted with. You see your current meeting, so what's about to start. So I walk into a meeting room and already I can tell that my meeting it's the correct meeting. I've got this meeting room booked, and I'm pretty confident that I'm not going to have somebody else walk into the room and interrupt me. I can do things like use the room now. So if there's no booking in the meeting room, I can click on the use now and just start using the meeting room immediately. That's useful if you just need to have a 2-minute call with somebody over Skype or over Teams or Zoom. or I can book the room as well. So another way that I can book the room without having to go back to my desk and book the room through my Outlook calendar. So the important thing to note with this is that these platforms, the ACENDO book panels, the ACENDO core, that they just tie into your organization's calendaring platform, whether that be 365, Office 365, or whether it be Exchange on premises. You know, when I book from the ACENDO core, that booking shows in the meeting room resource calendar as booked there. So when somebody at their desk looks at the calendar in Outlook, they see that booking there. It's reflected on the ACENDO core. It's reflected on the room book panel. So anywhere that booking, anywhere that room resource is linked to, will immediately reflect that booking. So we eliminate the double bookings. So a bit of an overview of the ACENDO core. So it features a one-click interface, and what we mean by a one-click interface is that it's one button to start a meeting or start using the platform. It can either be used as a guest or it can be incorporated into your enterprise's domain as well. So it can be managed by IT administrators. They can install their own applications on it. So if you want to put your own antivirus on there, if you want to install your own applications on there, then you have that ability. We have a fast one-click interface for joining Zoom, Skype for Business meetings, and Teams is being developed as well. So what I mean by that is when I book the meeting room, I book it with a Zoom room meeting details, Skype for Business meeting details, and future the Teams meeting details. So that when I click the start button, it recognizes that that's a Skype for Business or a Zoom meeting, and it automatically launches the application associated with that meeting and joins that meeting. So I have a guaranteed workflow each and every time. So fast access to cloud and network drives, USB. It features wireless screen sharing as well. So if you need wireless presentation device in the room in conjunction to a room PC, then this platform offers both features. Because it's an IT platform, it's a solution that IT managers feel comfortable with, comfortable that they can manage it, that they can configure it. Anybody that is involved with IT is capable of configuring this device. It is very much a plug-and-play solution. There is some integration with Netlinks with AMX control if that is desirable, but this is an appliance which can be used straight off the shelf. So I've touched on simple, intuitive on-screen scheduling. I won't read out every one of these here, but it's just the features and the benefits of each of these. I did mention that it can be connected to your domain. So if you wanted to lock this device down to your domain users, you can lock it down. You can have their profiles, their individual profiles on the core as well. So it can be an experience which is unique to each of those users. Here's a illustration of what the core looks like. We saw it before as well. So it's a really elegant looking device that can sit on any credenza in any meeting room and not look out of place there. Uses it's fanless, uses solid state media on there as well. So it's very quiet and runs very cool as well. On the front and the back, you've got a couple of USB connectors on there. On the front, a couple of USB 2 connectors. On the rear, we've got 4 USB 3 connectors on there. 2 HDMI 4K 30 outputs, so 4K 30 support there. 2 Ethernet ports on there. So if I wanted to support have the device connected to a guest network and to a corporate network for, say, the wireless screen sharing, then I could do that with it. And some analog audio in and outputs. So guests can connect to the device to do wireless presentation, and I'm going to now jump onto the ACENDO core. I'm going to show you the one-touch Zoom launch feature, and then we're going to have Paul do another demonstration for us of the screen sharing. So he's going to do screen sharing from a mobile device, and then I'll talk just about how we connect to the device from a Windows BYOD device. So I'm just going to flick back over to a a team viewer session here now. So I have a team viewer session, and over in Paul's bubble, he has the ACENDO core sitting there with him. So this is the UI that the user is greeted with in the room. And we'll see here that I have a meeting that's been booked from 10:30 to 11. So the one-click Zoom demo here. Now I can tell that this is a Zoom meeting, or identify that it's a Zoom meeting by this little icon here. And this will change whether it's a Skype for Business or Teams meeting to indicate to the user that that's the application that'll launch. I see my schedule for the day down the right-hand side here. And if I want to, I can go and book the room and use the room at a later time. So if I click on the book room here, brings up the meeting reservation, and I can enter some details in there. This is only intended to be used as a on-the-day booking, not booking in the future. It's like you've walked into the room's free, you want to put a booking in there. So you can put a booking in there, put one in for later in the day. That will send the request to your calendaring platform and reflect on any device which has access to that calendar, obviously. So if I want to see the meeting details, I can click on the little information bubble here. And this will show you the meeting info for this scheduled meeting. It's important to note that you do not change any of these details here. This information is what provides Core with the ability to tell that this is a Zoom meeting. So do not change this information here. So invite the room, get sent this, recognize it as a Zoom meeting. So now I can simply click on the start button to launch my session. And that'll go through the starting session process. Now, the great thing about the ACENDO core is that if I'm using this just in its guest environment, it's just everybody uses the same login. It actually has a feature where it'll purge the session when I finish the session. And what that means is when I click finish, any documents that I've viewed, any websites that I've visited, any downloads that I've made, they're all purged from the unit, and the unit's actually set back to a default profile. Any settings that I've changed, anything that I've adjusted volume-wise, it always reset to common values at a default profile. And as a integrator or IT manager, you have access to be able to configure that default profile. If you want specific applications to launch, then you can configure those applications and save that profile. So you can really curate this experience. The brilliant thing with the core is that it supports any platform that you use today and into the future, whether it be Zoom, Skype for Business, Teams, Google Hangouts, WebEx. The one-touch feature is available with just the Zoom, Skype, and Teams, but in future, there's the potential for those other platforms to have one-touch features as well. So we can see that I've joined the Zoom call here. I can click the join audio conference there, and I'm in my Zoom meeting. I know that I've joined the right Zoom meeting, that I'm good to go with my Zoom call. And at this point, I'd like to have Paul, if he could share some content with us with it. So there is a Air server is running on the ACENDO core, and what Air server is it gives us the ability to wirelessly screen share from a Miracast device like my Windows 10 laptop, AirPlay from an iOS device, and Google Cast from Android devices, or from my my Chrome web browser. So Paul's going to just share some content with us now, if you wouldn't mind, Paul.
Yep, no problem. Thanks, Quinton. And so what I've got my laptop here. Oh, let me spin this around.
And I should switch the camera over to you, buddy.
Okay, it's better. Here we go. So what I've got here is just a laptop, an Apple laptop, sorry, an Apple iPad. And I'm already on the same Wi-Fi network as the ACENDO core. So it's really easy to do some screen sharing. All I need to do is swipe down, go to screen mirroring, select the AMX ACENDO core from here, from my selection, and it just sees it as a normal Apple streaming device. So the same you would if you had an Apple TV there. So I literally just select the AMX ACENDO core. Starts to initiate on the screen.
Hey, Dad, it's your iPad.
Hey Dad, it's my iPad. And there we go. So I've just rocked into the meeting, connected up my my iPad here, and I'm presenting wirelessly to the ACENDO core straight away. What's really nice also is that I can have multiple devices. So while we've got that iPad there, let me also open up my phone and do exactly the same thing. Go to my screen mirroring, select ACENDO core, and it's connecting there on the right hand side. And then I can pop out of that. So I've got both devices side by side presenting here. And in actuality, I can have up to 4 devices on the screen at any one time, multiple presentations. And of course, I can share that as well through the Zoom meeting through to Quentin, and he can view the content that I'm streaming up to the core from here.
So, and that's just the same way that anybody that uses any of these applications is used to sharing content. So I can share from a specific application, or I can share my my desktop through a Zoom meeting. And the same, and it's the same for any other application. Just use the same methods that you would in those applications to share the content with them. Thanks, Paul. That's brilliant, mate. That worked flawlessly. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
So I'll just click off that there, and we'll just leave this meeting here, and then just give you a little overview of the interface for the ACENDO core. Sorry, my team view is a bit clunky, so it takes a little while. So we get this bar down the left-hand side here, so our users can easily navigate the interface here and access documents. So we have access to local downloads if I've downloaded something from a file server, if I've gone to the web and downloaded something. Remote shared drives, if we've set up shared drives on in our organisation. USB drives, Paul's connected a USB thumb drive to the device for us, so we can have a look at that. So we get a nice clean interface for users to browse through, and it makes it nice and easy for them to see from a large screen rather than using the Windows the Windows Explorer interface. And again, you can share this content just like you would with any other web conferencing application. So applications, little toolbar here. We have access to some commonly used applications. Let's say I didn't bring my laptop to the room with me and I wanted to access some information on my laptop. If I've got remote desktop configured, then I can use remote desktop to access my laptop, or I might use it to access a virtual machine somewhere on my network. The web application is Microsoft Edge. Recommend Microsoft Edge with this appliance because it sort of seamlessly integrates the experience. If you want to use Chrome or you want to use Firefox, then you can do so with it. Like I said, you can install your own applications on this device. So this just gives you the UI. That means it's easy for your users to navigate it. And down the left here, we have some favorite applications as well. So you can have your favorite web conferencing applications, or if you've got Office Online, you could have a link to that to bring you to Office Online. And then down across the bottom here, we've got the application manager, which is simply the Alt Tab function. We have the schedule for the day on the device as well. So I can start the conference again if I've left that, or I can extend the meeting. So as my meeting comes to a close, I will be given a warning to say that my meeting's about to end, and that if the room's available, I can extend it. If the room isn't available, then obviously I can't extend it. But I can also book the room again later on from here too. So it's a really nice, intuitive interface to use from it. Nice, clean interface. And then once I'm finished, I click the finish button here, and that'll ask me to exit my session, and it'll purge all my downloaded and cached files from the device, ready for the next user to come in and use the room. So that's really just a brief overview of the ACENDO core. The administrative login for the ACENDO core gives you access to configuring the room scheduling, configuring the applications on there, like the screen sharing, setting up the default profile so that you can install your applications and have them launch on startup. So that's all done from the from the core administrative login. So connecting from Windows to the ACENDO core, if I wanted to do a screen sharing session from a Windows device, it's either using Miracast and casting via Miracast or using Google Cast. So from your Chrome browser, it's really straightforward if anybody's used their Google Chromecast dongles at home. Chromecast, the 3 buttons, the top right there, the cast button, and cast to the ACENDO core. You can actually do desktop casting with Chrome as well. You can select to cast to your desktop from there, and you'll see the little casting icon come up there. And we can have both platforms, Google Cast and AirPlay, coexisting on the same screen. So that's the ACENDO core. Happy to answer any questions you might have about that if you have any more or would like any more information about the ACENDO core later. So moving along, where I'm going to introduce the AMX CT series of video transport distribution kits. These are a small point-to-point web conferencing or presentation kits. It's the CT series, and there are 2 models within the CT series. And this addresses the issue of having, a room PC and then wanting to bring in BYOD equipment or laptops and USB-C devices, HDMI, VGA devices that I'm bringing into a meeting room, and I want to use the technology in the room with my BYOD device. They use HD base T as the transport, and HD base T. Look, I was around when HD base T started back in 2011, 2010. So it's been around for a while, and it is a robust platform now. So for a simple point-to-point solution, it works beautifully. I've got it set up here next to me, and I'm going to demonstrate the transport kit to you shortly in a web conferencing type fashion. So there are 2 models in the product family. The CTP 1301, which is a little 3x1, which means your transmitter at the table has 3 video inputs, and then there's a receiver at the display over HD base T with a local HDMI input for, say, a room PC that's located near the display, and my HDMI output for the TV, for the display. So really simple point-to-point solution. It can be controlled by buttons on the front of the unit. It can be integrated with an AMX control system, or it can be used in an auto function as well. So when I plug a device into the transmitter, it recognizes that device and automatically switches to that input. And when I disconnect it, it'll switch back to the previous input. CEC control on these as well. So when I plug in my laptop, it detects that hot plug and it sends the CEC command from the receiver to the display to turn it on. So again, you've got a solution here which offers a complete small, medium-sized meeting room transport solution. The CTC 1402, which is a 4x2 video switcher, is our conferencing kit. Now this offers in addition to the video and audio transport, this offers USB 2.0 transport on there as well. And this really ties in really nicely with the ACENDO core or room PC and the ACENDO Vibe. I've got a room, I have USB peripherals in that room, cameras, sound bars, microphones, USB thumb drives, USB mouse and keyboard that I want to share, that are typically used with the room PC or the core, that I want to share with a guest device. I prefer driving my laptop with a proper mouse than using the trackpad. So it'd be nice to sit down at a meeting room table and use one set of mouse and keyboard to operate my laptop and also operate the room PC. Or if I've got a touch screen in the room, I could connect my large format touch display to the CTC kit, and then I can turn my laptop into a touch display. So really flexible. So here's an illustration of the CTP transport presentation switcher. So my transmitter under the table, I have a VGA and HDMI laptop plugged in, HD base T across Cat6A STP, shielded twisted pair, and then HDMI to my display. Because I have a local input on the receiver, I can have a wireless presentation device or a room PC, whatever I like plugged in, HDMI device plugged into that receiver. So that'd be the dedicated room appliance there. So it's important to point out at this point that this is a 4K 30 solution with the CTP. So it's a 4K 30. It will do 1080p at 60, obviously. So the CTP 4K 30 digital switcher, transmitter and receiver, it's one kit. They come together as a standalone solution. So they're plug and play solution, really simple to deploy. They simply just turn the units on, connect them together, and video and audio will pass over it. So the CTC unit, which I mentioned, kit has the USB 2.0 transport on there. So on the transmitter, we've actually got a little bit more connectivity, a few more connectivity options on there. We've got VGA, DisplayPort, HDMI, and USB-C on there. In fact, my laptop sitting in front of me here today, that is actually a USB-C laptop. I've actually got that connected to my transmitter on the table with USB-C, which is carrying my video, my audio, and my USB connectivity as well. So really, it's a nice experience. It's been bulletproof since I've had this set up in the setup in my home office here. So we can see that I've got a USB keyboard and mouse attached to my transmitter, and that would be at the table. So anything I switch to in terms of video, the USB follows. So when I switch inputs, the video, audio, and USB follow that input. At my receiver, I've got a soundbar connected there. So I've got the ACENDO Vibe connected with its USB connected to the receiver. So I've instantly got access from all of these devices over here on the left-hand side. I've got instant access to those just by switching to it. And then at the receiver, we've got our ACENDO core attached with USB and HDMI. So this is our room conferencing appliance. And here's just a bit of an overview of the differences between them. The CTC 1402 is a 4K 60 solution. So that is a full 444 subchroma sampling on there. So that is a really nice solution for a small, medium, even some large meeting rooms. You know, our boardroom and at the office, we've got one set up there. So USB 2.0 transport there as well, auto switching and scaling on there as well. So we're scaling for the display, not for the lowest common resolution, and both of them are integratable with netlinks or used standalone. So I'm going to do a quick demonstration of it here in my office at home. I'm going to switch over to another camera here, and hopefully all of my technology is going to behave itself for me. So switch over to live over here, and right, so hopefully everybody can see my screen now and can continue to hear me. I'm just going to move away from my chair for a moment here so I can go over here and just wave hello here. Through the magic of the internet in the 21st century, I'm actually using my iPhone as a web camera. It's a neat little trick that I found. And I'm using some G-clamps sitting down here actually as my camera mounts. So very professional job done here. So this is the CTC camera kit here. This is the 1402 RX, so the receiver. And on the front of the unit here, you'll see that we have the input selects. So we have some input select buttons for HD base T, which is from my receiver. So whatever is selected as the source at the transmitter, I should say, is will be switched. So right now, that's my laptop, which is sitting back over on my desk over here. I have the local HDMIs on the receiver, which are connected at the back, selectable from the front here as well. And I can switch to those devices there. So what happens, and you might have heard that diddle, the USB sound, that's my laptop being disconnected from the USB peripherals. So now I have a little room PC, which is a little Azure PC stick here, which is connected to the back of my transport kit over here on the HDMI inputs here. I have two HDMI inputs and I have an HDMI output. My USB peripherals are plugged in just here. So I have a camera, which is sitting up on my windowsill. And I have a keyboard, which is sitting over here as well. So I have control of this Windows PC. So when I switch back to, say, my laptop, if I switch back to my laptop over here, we hear that dum 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 dum. Back to my laptop, the USB transport is actually controlling my laptop over there, so you can actually see it coming up on the screen there. So that's switching the USB from the camera as well. So I have a mouse on my desk which is also switching from the transmitter, which I can start a new meeting from here. And I have a webcam just sitting outside, just looking out the window here. It's not raining at the moment, which is nice. And then if I go back to the transmitter, which is sitting over here on my desk. Sitting over here on my desk, I can see that USB-C is selected on my transmitter. So that's my current source. And then if I just go and change my camera, I now can see the same camera from my laptop, which is connected to the transmitter. So I've instantly switched the USB peripherals between my laptop and my little PCs that's connected to the receiver. So it's a really nice solution that is it's bulletproof is my experience with it thus far. Even when the web conferencing application like Teams is actually running, it's switched and recognise the device, the cameras, the mouse, the keyboard, without actually having any interruption to operation on there. So just to finally finish things off, have a little bit of a product summary of some of the other solutions that we have. So I'll just flick back over here. So a couple of other solutions which sort of fit into the ecosystem with the transport kits. If you're looking for just a small presentation switcher, we have the VPX series of HD-based presentation switches. We have a 4x1 and a 7x1 presentation switcher with an HD-based and HDMI outputs on there. All of these solutions bar the CTP 1301 of 4K 60. The transport kits, which I've mentioned. Precis low-cost matrix switches. If you're looking for a cost-effective 8x8 HDMI matrix switcher with HD-based connectivity on it, then we do have a little 8x8 Precis switcher. And some video distribution accessories, which have sort of been purpose-built. So there's a 4K 60 scaler if you're using a transport method, or if you're using multiple resolutions with a display. We've got a 4K standalone scaler. An inline controller, which passes CEC control for some hot plug detection and power on, power off of a display. An EDID manager and audio extraction all in one device. And finally, just our DX Link 4K 60 transmitters, which pass USB 2 and can be used with the Precis HDMI switches. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. We're just on an hour, just over an hour now. I really appreciate you during this difficult time joining in, and welcome any questions. And if you'd like to get in touch with us, then please do. Thank you so much.
Great, thanks, Quentin. I see there are a couple of questions come up.
Yep, just flicked over the questions now. So Yules asked, how is the remote powered? So the remotes are powered with 2 AA batteries, and they will presume this is for the ACENDO Vibe, and the Vibe, the remote control will last years on a set of AA batteries. So we've got another question here. So somebody's asked, with the ACENDO Core, can you have Zoom and Skype meetings scheduled in the same calendar? e.g. the first meeting of the day is a Zoom call, and then the next meeting of the day is a Skype for Business call. So absolutely you can do that. So in the core admin configuration, you set up your Skype for Business and your Zoom credentials configuration, and then the ACENDO core will recognise if it's a Skype for Business call or if it's a Zoom call. It's a very agnostic platform. There are a multitude of solutions which are tied to one web conferencing platform. This is very agnostic. Is that screen share sharing to the Zoom call as well? So that would have been when Paul was doing his screen screencasting, his wireless presentation from his devices. Yes, you can do that sharing to the Zoom call as well. So you start by doing your wireless presentation to the ACENDO core, and then within your application, if it's Zoom, you go and share content like I clicked on, and then you select the window that the wireless presentation content is within, or you can share the whole desktop. And if it was with Skype for Business, it's the same thing essentially. You select to share some content within the Skype for Business application, and then you select the application window. In this case, it's the server window. And I think that's all the questions we had there. So if there's no other questions, everybody, thank you so much again for joining us, and look after yourselves, take care, stay healthy. Thank you.